Hey guys, it's Pickles. Welcome to another history video. I'm really excited for this one because today we are going to go over the history of titanium tendons. This one has been in the making for quite some time, so I hope you enjoy it. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the history of titanium tendons. First introduction. I first got to play Nitrotype when it was a new game back at the end of 2011. Because they had us try it in our 4th grade computer class. I can also remember when I first learned about Inspect Element, and I used to pretend that I had a ton of cash in the game during those classes. I never really played much, but I can remember using 2 fingers and getting like 40 words per minute. Chapter 1. Keyboarding class and more. In 2017, I had a class called Introduction to Keyboarding. This is where I finally learned how to type with more than 2 fingers and just became someone who actually cared about typing at all. I did have a Nitrotype account in that class, but ultimately, I ended up forgetting the password to it when I created my main, which I actually made it in a website coding class, because I was ahead on the lessons and ended up having nothing really to do. Some of my earliest competitive memories came this class. I noticed when I raced a whole period, I could actually rank on the 24-hour leaderboard. When I got in a race with Muhammad, I was amazed by this account, and thought it would be insane to ever reach a point like that. And of course now, I had JF's powerlifting, which was named for the fact that at this time, I was actually right at the level of state record for the bench press. I managed to hit 330 pounds, weighing 220 pounds, when I was 16, around the time I created the account. Chapter 2. Junior year and summer. Over the summer between sophomore and junior year, I didn't race at all. But when they gave us our own Chromebooks to use when I was a junior, a lot of things changed for me. At first, I just did a race in my bedroom and got 77 words per minute when my personal best was only 81. So I was just thinking I could practice getting faster even if I was typing at home. It wasn't really about grinding at all for me yet, and I began to play in classes when I was bored. I started off racing more at school and then at home for sure. And I also joined my first couple teams. Initially, I was in some random team that invited me, and then I realized I was out racing everyone and thought maybe a top 10 team would accept me. So I applied to several and ended up getting onto XPL, where I met my first ever friend group on Nitrotype. The captain of that team has definitely played an interesting role in my life, and come back in an unexpected way. But at this point, I just knew him to be a bit inactive for the team, and it seemed like my friend Lena was running things mostly. Although in season 17, I really just raced on the team without even having Discord. It wasn't until I won Officer and Gold that made the message of the day telling me that I needed to join the Discord if I wanted to keep the position. That's when I would actually meet everyone I was talking about. A little before season 18 would begin. One big memory I have from season 17 is when I did my longest session ever at school. 270 races, by racing everyone in class. Basically, this is when you would do around only 15 hours. When I got home, I did another 150 or so and ended up getting first place on the 24-hour leaderboard, which was just incredible for me. This was probably the first time I had ever spent any real time racing at home, and the first time I ever felt motivated by the leaderboard instead of improving my speed. Season 18 is when I would really start to come into my own things. I started grinding when it first began, and I remember being 3rd or 4th person to earn the Shadow Xmas tree, along with being ranked 7th on the first day. I was still in XPL, and at this point my cousin was also a decent racer. Having joined in season 16 when I showed him the game and being motivated by the teams and drama of season 18. Him and I would race and talk, and try to keep XPL in 4th place when Kitty vs. Dog was dominating the game. But resent me with the captain of their team, Bill, and ultimately, I actually got the friend group to move over to Dog. We tried to help them pass Kitty, and actually had a real impact. People from SSH had to come over, and we reached a point where both teams were heavily outperforming SSH for a bit because of it. Of course, we all know that wasn't enough, but having such a big impact and forcing people to switch their plans when they owned the biggest teams in the game was a real feeling of power. In fact, I quit grinding after the first week of the season to focus on playing melee. I only came back in the last week to grind for dog. But when it was all said and done, my friend group made our own very special team. It was originally 5, but then someone else we knew wanted to join, and it ended up becoming 6. We were actually ranked top 5 for a little in season 19, and only 3 of us were even still playing Nectar type. My cousin Lena and myself were all top racers. But this is also the season where I truly found myself. I grinded the first week at a decent level, holding a place around 8th or 9th on the season. But then I decided to see what happened if I went all out. Since the season was 2 months long, and I knew already everyone was quitting because they missed the events and shorter seasons. So I pushed myself to start racing as much as I could at school, and then basically all day at home. And I began staying up later as the season went on. I began abusing caffeine more as well. My longest session at this point was 1,187 from Christmas break. But I was beginning to do almost 1,000 sessions on Saturday, and by the end of the season, I was pushing PBNL stars out of second place and outpacing Mal by 2,000 points a week. I remember doing 11,000 races in 2 weeks, which averages out to 800 a day with school and long races. It was insane how quickly I went from feeling like a valuable team asset to someone who could win a season, which is exactly what I spent on for season 22, taking on Mal in a super close battle for the first 2 weeks. This is where a lot of my profile views came from. I remember getting 4,000 a day when I was first for the season. I also got lucky because Mal wouldn't race at school like me. So what would happen is, he would keep racing later than me since he lives in CST, which is 1 hour behind me. And he would make sure to pass me by literally 10 races worth of points. Then I would race before classes began since my bus arrived so early to pass him back. And when I could race in classes, I would gain. But when he got home, he would quickly close the gap as well with his better point efficiency. I remember the night when I messaged the NT server and pinged them to congratulate him for winning. Because after 2 weeks of the fighting and racing at a family party, I just couldn't do it anymore. This is probably when my tendonitis began to develop as well. I remember my left hand hurting so bad on the second weekend. But when I quit the season, I probably still raced towards the end because I ended up placing 3rd, only being passed by Moises. When the season was ending, I also had the idea of making my own team. This was the name Trailblazers came to mind because I thought that'd be exactly that. A team that comes into NT and does something that has never been done before. But little did I know, SYN was planning to make their grand return for season 21. The same time we planned to go active. So when that season began, the focus was immediately SSH versus SYN, and TBZ was first in the very beginning. Then we were holding second over SSH for like 2 days, and quickly we fell fighting off after I ran for 3rd. But as a player, I was actually finding a bit of success. Aiden was initially holding first place over me, but I was able to actually establish a really strong lead after several days of racing. I would do over 1,000 a day on weekends and 800 even a day on even school days. I can make myself stay up racing until 4 a.m. and wake up in 2 hours later. I was also having 4 cups of coffee, monsters, and pre-workout to maintain this. So definitely could say this was when I went from unhealthy to generally risking my life for the game. And as well as with first place until Pandora got out of school before me, about like 2 weeks. He didn't start off being super active, I think that he was ranked around 5th, but as soon as he was out, he began that iconic 6006 race session, which ended up bringing him ahead of me by the end of it. I think I always had more races, but the point of efficiency was too much to handle. And I think it had to be everyone doubting me that kept me going at this time. Where I had failed against Mal, I couldn't help myself to do it again. This led to me not focusing on TBZ at all. And soon we fell to 4th despite having myself, Wildflower who was in 4th, and Dragon Typer who was in 9th. Someone took FLL tag, which is why he joined for a season. These players would be important in a minute as well. But my battle with Pan raged on. And in a cool twist, we actually came close somewhat for the first time by talking while grinding late at night. I can also vividly remember wanting to get Hall of Fame session myself this season, which led to me achieving the Demon session 8 different times in like a 40-day period. Eventually Pandora cracked, and he told me he had to quit racing. He warned me to stop as well, but unfortunately that session goal kept me motivated. And something else happened as well. PJ messaged me about joining SYN. He told me something to get me to join, and it worked, along with the fact that I knew it would be a big opportunity. So I disbanded TBZ and came to SYN with those players I mentioned a minute ago, which was more than enough to replace this racing lost from Pandora giving out. On this team, I did my back-to-back 4,000 plus race sessions. The sad thing about this first one is that it could have been really special. I did a 900 race session and lost it by 3 minutes before starting my 4,323 at 10 p.m. So those two together could have been barely enough to pass Moises for 3rd place, with the time lost between as well. Then after the 4,323 session, I did a 4,885 that led me passing out after 115 hours of being awake. I would allow myself to sleep while sitting there for a bit during each session, but mostly kept using more and more caffeine to keep myself somewhat awake. I remember mixing C4 with God of Rage into an energy drink and creating 1,000 milligrams caffeine bombs. I found that you have to give yourself enough to make it through the 4 to 7 a.m. area, then you can actually begin to feel more awake. Once your circadian rhythm believes your body should be awake at that time. I try to save the caffeine for the night, but the 3 days in, and you're just slamming caffeine all day to keep yourself from passing out. I know these times did a great deal of damage to my body, and my brain as well, as it was still developing. I think it contributed greatly to a great personality shift, and it is something I can do and regret a lot. Thankfully, I was able to set a lot of records on Sim and Win at least, so something still stands today for my effort. Chapter 3. Post-Season 21 and Retirement. After Season 21 ended, we went on a vacation, and I really took some time off grinding heavily. I did race a bit when it began just for fun, but overall I didn't do too much. However, I was on 5HRK since they had helped Sin the season before. I also did a 2008 800 session later in the season when I randomly attempted HOF again, which was definitely a mistake to just randomly attempt. I was already probably a good month out of grinding. Season 23 was pretty much the same, was the least competitive NT season ever. All the top players like Mal, Wildflower, Aiden, and myself decided to take a chill or just not race at all. This led to me going to the goal of the fastest season winner ever, which was held by Galaxy, averaging 117 words per minute for season 18. I didn't achieve this goal, but I did in fact win, and I was able to finish with exactly 6969 season races as well. Season 24 was pretty uneventful for me. I just remember being captain of IC9 when they were in 2nd. SSH became dominant as well, but at the end of the season I actually remade TBZ, and season 25 would be huge for us. I started trying out to win this season as a player, but on weekend, and I already had a wake-up call that it wasn't worth battling someone who didn't have to deal with school like I did. So I focused on my team, and we kept it really close with SSH towards the end. when they seemed to really stop racing as much. We became the first rookie team to win the season. In season 26, we gained the stats trackers that SSH has, and we went to battle with DTR. As a player, I found myself in the same position, initially wanting first place until I realized it just wasn't worth it for me, and I was able to keep up without being in pain. However, this marked the time which I began posting to YouTube, as I initially made a video to announce me quitting grinding. I then just began posting daily on different things that were happening on the game, and quickly found myself enjoying it. I actually began building up my YouTube channel as TBZ came into its most successful and most dramatic era. The battle with DTR came to head with what I would call mistakes from both sides, and ultimately they ended up disbanding, with several members joining TBZ. This made our team complete superpower that reached its pinnacle midway through the season. But people didn't see something that was happening within me. The drama within DTR was the only thing I had to deal with, and unfortunately, the person I built TBZ up with ended up not being such a great guy. I won't go into specifics, but he had issues and I felt like trapped and ended up being immature, which came in the form of me disbanding the team as a way to escape. I remember waking up that morning and feeling like, I'm just gonna do it, on the way to school. And then I did. We had like 88 million points with Dog at 43 million, and they didn't pass us or disbanded point total until the last 2 days of the season. I even remade TBZ, or someone did, and it ranked top 100 a second time on the season in its new form. I now had gotten things together by the end because it was season 27, and we were a really powerful team once again. Kind of like SSH and Kitty in season 18, we also were the team that gave 5HRK a massive boost in fairness. They were all relatively chill team, and a ton of TBZ's core joined with me after I disbanded. Someone even started a rumor that I secretly disbanded for them, and when season 27 began, they had Mal and Kocho still along with many other racers that would have been on TBZ otherwise. Even still, 5HRK, TBZ, and Talk were all going absolutely insane in the first day of season 27. We were a bit in the lead, with something like 24,000 races in 21 hours. And then, the unthinkable. The captain of XPL made his grand return in my life. As it turns out, he was under a new identity, which he still uses today, and he was actually officer on TBZ at this time, which allowed him to use 2 different exploits together that gave him the power, as just a team officer, to disband my team. Of course, after my history, many people believed it was me, but in a strange twist, the same guy who disbanded my team also told me how to prove I wasn't the one who did it. Using the teacher portal, I was able to make a video where I showed the last time I logged into my account, and with that, I was able to prove that I actually didn't log in a few minutes after the whole server began freaking out. I literally woke up to it happening after I grinded head-to-head with Kocho for a 14-hour session the day before. Penguin Typer ended up reacting to my video, which was the event that really gave my channel a boost in its life. So in a way, this was also a new beginning for me. I did get to remake TBZ, and Travis gave us 21,000 season races back, making us the very few teams to ever have more season races than Lifetime. This also made the captain of RRR1 mad because we got boosted and ahead of them. The guy who disbanded us was banned for 3 months as well. But all this really did just lead to me pulling back from playing NT and moving forward into content creation. I ended up posting the biggest NT giveaway of its time, my account giveaway, around July of 2020. I remember having around 600 entries and gaining a good 200 subs from it. This really was my chance to move on from NT as a game and just focus on the channel. And I had been posting daily since late February. So at this point, all I did was think about content and push myself to keep going. One thing I failed to mention is that around May of 2020, whenever the Session Hall of Fame was removed, that actually happened because of Smoke and myself account shared a 9,009 race session on the account TBZOG, along with some help from Aiden. We abused a trick I discovered with V3 where you could get races done a lot more quickly at 9 numbers per minute because the bots loaded very quickly in any speed zone that isn't low players, including low zones. And you were allowed to use a nitro at this zone at the time. But that was a period of like 4 or 5 days, and I only mention it because it was by far the biggest session I was ever involved with at the time. But when my account was truly gone, I was truly off the game for a while, just posting content multiple times a day, and always looking for what I thought could bring me views. Chapter 4: Content Deletion and Today. Things were looking solid until late September. I knew I was committing too much to YouTube and I was going to have to begin working. But unfortunately, I didn't have the emotional maturity to handle doing YouTube without giving it 100%. I'm too much of an all or nothing person, so I left myself with nothing. I deleted every video I ever made and ended up killing the momentum of NT's fastest growing channel. While John was just beginning to blow up, and I even shared Nitro Type Live with his audience. Ultimately, this was the end of things for a long time for me. I really did nothing in the game until May of 2021. SNT made me, had the team tags thanks to Universal Legend, stemming it as he always did, and TBZ was actually top 3 under his leadership. But Heartless planned to make a team, and Smoke ended up giving me the TBZ tag, where I made it on my other account, which is captain of the team to this day. The funny thing is, I probably would have made it on my main, but I didn't get it back until the day after Smoke gave me the tag. I can remember the people messaging the winner of my account, Culver, saying he would give it back because I was reviving TBZ. I got super lucky in 2021 because Heartless disbanded Regime when they were a top team to join TBZ, and we were able to rise back to first place in just 9 days. It's interesting because we also had our crazy rise in Season 25, largely thanks to the captain of IC9 telling me she was going to kick everyone before she did it, allowing everyone from a top 2 team to join TBZ as well. In 2021, I didn't do enough to be proud of myself, but TBZ was amazing. They were first place for 42 days straight, and then we made a comeback just for fun at the end of the year, and we got first place all of December. Coming to 2022, I think that we all know what happened. I discovered the power of account sharing. First passing my longest session ever with the help of a few other players. Before recruiting the same cousin I used to play with in 2019 to race in shifts with me. We've done this for a few months and won Season 38 and Volume 1 of Season 39 in the process. I also got together with the love of my life, the incredible woman I met back in 2020 at this game. Amanda, or as she's known in the community, I love you to the stars. The last 2 months with her have been something that I wouldn't trade for anything on this earth. And I'm just happy that she's a part of TBZ, and more importantly, part of my life today. Along with all the other amazing people I met along the way. Smoke is another one who stands out as one of my best friends ever. Cam as well. I got to meet him when he was new to the community, and we honestly went through a lot together. I got to have an impact on this game, on his life, and I cherish that. Same goes to all the other amazing people who have raced for TBZ over time, or have just been a part of my success in some other way. And Pickles, thank you so much for taking this time to read my story and make a video for it. Alright, so that's the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed. That's the history of titanium tendons. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.